So Mark Carney goes on The Daily Show. Conservatives let people know how they feel about that. And more liberals drop out of the race, shaping this thing up after Carney's appearance. Let's get right on into it. Daily Show happens last night. Headlines are freaking out this morning. And yes, Mark Carney officially lets people know that he is serious and going for the leadership of the Liberal Party. Catch this, gotta catch my breath. On American networks. Oh, yes, that just sums up this government, doesn't it? Just sums up the Liberals. Screw Canadian media. We're just going to go and announce my intention to run for Liberal leadership on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. That's where I'm going to do it. Not the CBC that apparently I'm so much of a champion of. I'm not going to do it on the CTV, Global Mail. No, the places that we've championed so much as the Liberal Party. No, we're not going to do it there. We're going to do it in America. Sounds good, buddy. Oh, sounds good. It's one thing for that to happen. It's a whole other to sit for the 20-minute interview and watch him lie. And it was more so interesting to see the talking points that he went after. It's fun to watch all the policy decisions he wants to make that are exactly like Justin Trudeau's. But there are about two specific things that really caught my attention. Two very egregious lies. One of them came within the first 2 minutes of the interview, talking about the 2008 crisis when he was the head of the Bank of Canada. And it was interesting to see what he had to say about that.
I remember you from 2008. And I mean this. Your work in helping Canada get through the economic crisis of 2008, the financial crisis that hit this country terribly, and I thought made a lot of really painful decisions for the people of this country. I thought Canada avoided the worst of that. And I believe you played a very strong role in that.
We did. I mean, thank you. We did.
You're so,
but we did because we didn't do things that we didn't understand. So we didn't let our banks do things that they didn't understand just because all the other banks were doing them. So subprime, CDO squared, really, fancy derivatives.
You're saying you thought, let's not let the banks dissolve mortgages into particulate matter, mix it into cups,
throw it off,
throw it in the air, and then sell that.
Well, throw it in the air, take a big profit, pay themselves a lot of money,
yes,
and then it hits the ground.
How did you not have to do that?
We didn't understand it, John.
There you go, smiling his way through it. Taking responsibility for Canada's response to the 2008 financial crisis. That is one I didn't see coming, if I'm being honest. I thought it was going to be more like, hey, this is why I'm going to be better than Poilievre. This is what I can bring to the party, this, that, the other. I didn't expect him to be like, yeah, 2008, that was all me, baby. That was all me. So I had to take a look. I was like, maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe he really did have a bigger impact on the 2008 crisis than I even realized he did. So I took a look. What was the Bank of Canada's role in the 2008 crisis versus the Bank of Canada's role in the 2020 crisis? Let's take a look. Let's do a compare and contrast, shall we? Similar responses, a couple different points here and there, but virtually the same. 2008, what did they do? The Bank of Canada lowered its target interest rate rapidly in 2008 early 2009. It brought it down to 0.25%, the lower bound in April 2009. What did they do in 2020? The Bank of Canada lowered interest rates to 0.25%. Imagine that. What else did they do? Liquidity support. The Bank of Canada provided short-term liquidity support in 2008 to the financial system through programs that expanded on its traditional liquidity tools. What did we do in 2020? Launching liquidity facilities. The Bank of Canada launched liquidity facilities and asset purchase programs to increase liquidity in core funding markets. New rules. The Bank of Canada established new rules in 2008 to make the financial system more stable. In 2020, the Bank of Canada accelerated its efforts to model the key links between financial stability and monetary policy decisions. Different wording, similar concepts, they did almost the exact same thing. So tell me, the Bank of Canada virtually responded the same way in 2008 that they did in 2020. Then help me understand why here in 2025, we are in such terrible, dire straits than they were in 2013. Walk me through that, shall we? Walk me through that. What's the difference? They did the exact same thing. Why is today's economy in shambles compared to the 2013 economy? Walk me through that. There seems to be one variable that was different between the two. You can help me figure this one out. Oh, right, the Liberal government led by Trudeau. And I already hear the sound already of crying Liberals in the distance. Oh, but Mark Carney wasn't a part of that. He's an outsider, as he said in this interview later. That's what he is. He's an outsider. He wasn't a part of that. All right. Need I remind you, then former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney advising the PM on COVID-19 economic response. Okay. So what I understand from that is he would have done the exact same thing. Let's not allow him to gaslight us into thinking that he had some crazy responsibility of the 2008 crisis. Let's not go there. The Bank of Canada has one mandate: hit inflation targets. How do you hit inflation targets? There's only two things they can do: raise interest rates, lower interest rates. Why do you think we see a similar response in 2008 to 2020? Because there's very limited things they can do. Sorry to break it to you, but this is the lie that they're running on. They're trying to build up Carney as this amazing outside perspective into the Liberal Party who has an amazing economic background that can save Canada from what they just went through, even though he was along the ride every step of the way, championing the policies that have put us in the position that we're currently in. Wow! Fun. The second most egregious lie was one I just alluded to. Him considering himself and calling himself an outsider. This was wild. I gotta play this 2 minutes for you.
On by the Trump tariffs about what the future brings. The world's more divided, it's more dangerous. What are we going to do? And truth be told, the government has been not as focused on those issues as it could be. We need to focus on them immediately. That can happen now, and that's what this election is going to be about.
Can I tell you something? I feel like I'm looking in a mirror. We just had that election.
Yeah.
Run. And when I say run, I mean not for office. I mean run the other way. That it's so hard. It's when the headwinds are like that. It's really difficult for a candidate to come in who is saddled with the policies that are
But let's say.
Oh boy.
Let's say, just throwing out a
Look
wild.
Look at you trying to preserve the relationship all of a sudden.
A wild hypothetical. Let's say the candidate wasn't part of the government. Let's say the candidate did have a lot of economic experience. Let's say the candidate did deal with crises. Let's say the candidate had a plan to deal with the challenges in the here and now.
Sneaky. You're running as an outsider.
I am an outsider.
I am an outsider. Okay, he's an outsider. Let's look at his resume, shall we? Economic advisor to the Liberals, UN climate envoy, sits as chair of Brookfield Asset Management, who has been recently lobbying the Canadian government to have them use Canadian tax dollars to invest with that company. On top of working with the World Economic Forum on climate change issues. Outsider, he says. Outsider. He's more an insider than anyone else. And the Conservatives see right through it. Pierre Poilievre said this: carbon tax Carney is the ultimate Liberal insider. He's the chair of Trudeau's task force on economic growth and advised the Liberal government for years before that. And now he campaigns for the same Liberal policies that tax your work, double housing costs, and will hike the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre. He's just like Justin. Roman Baber says, an outsider? Mark Carney? Really? You're an economic advisor to the Liberals, run by Gerald Butts, UN climate envoy, sits on the chair of Brookfield Asset Management, and has a hand with Telesat. Even Jon Stewart calls him sneaky Carney. Rick Perkins says, carbon tax Carney must be suffering from selective amnesia. He must have forgotten he's been guiding Trudeau's disastrous economic policy that doubled the debt, doubled housing costs, and doubled food bank usage. Carbon tax Carney is a hypocrite. He's just like Justin. And then Melissa Lantsman. As a longtime Liberal insider, advisor, and the chair of Justin Trudeau's task force on economic growth, he is the furthest thing possible from an outsider. But that is exactly why you do American talk shows for your campaign launch. ... Obviously, Conservatives are on the same messaging path here. You are the furthest thing from an outsider. And this isn't just a fun campaign slogan about Carney. We listed out before we got into this. He's the furthest thing. He's involved in all the globalist initiatives, doesn't really care much about Canada, hasn't really signaled he really cared much about Canada. So much so that even in World Economic Forum meetings, he calls himself a European.
Mark, you look like you were about to.
Yeah, it was a tell.
As a European, as a
European, I am a European, actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh.
Irish citizen. Yeah. So there you go.
Welcome.
Speaking as a European, I like to say following.
Some conservatives will jump you all over saying, he doesn't like Canada. I get it. I understand. I think here it's more tongue in cheek, but it is still a weird tell to come out and say, no, I am a European citizen. I am European. Speaking as a European, tongue in cheek, it's just kind of weird. Say you're Canadian, but you hold multiple passports. In a day and age where we're seeing a battle of ideas between nationalism and globalism, it doesn't look good. But here's the issue. Canadians are not enjoying the ride that we're currently on. Politics are exhausting. Everything costs too much money. Life has significantly gotten worse over the last 10 years. And people just keep fighting. That's no fun. Crime's up, all that. They just want off this crazy roller coaster. And for a lot of people, the only choice that they felt like they had was like, oh, I can't stand Trudeau, so I guess I got to vote for Poilievre. Then Mark Carney jumped on yesterday. And they had never seen this man before, don't know his background, don't know what he's about. But he spoke nice. He had some humor. He performed well in the interview. Quite frankly, just based on that interview alone, which is what most people are going to use to judge him and on his character, he's more digestible than Poilievre to the moderate voter. And that's what's a little bit scary. To us who watch shows like this and who are politically engaged, you know what this guy's all about. You've been following him for the past 4 years. You know what he's capable of. You know that he's championing the same policies that have ruined our country. Now you're not going to have the moron in front of it in Justin Trudeau. Now you're going to have someone who can speak, who can talk, who's a little more crafty with his words, which is far scarier. Don't believe me? Well, just if this is my little litmus test, was going through the YouTube comments on this one. Suffice to say, I wasn't encouraged. Am I dreaming? A statesman with relevant experience who can talk clearly? As a Canadian, I would support someone with a solid financial background. I had a great interview. As a Canadian, I hope Carney's our next PM. God help us if PP gets into power. As a Canadian, I've been following the political landscape for the past couple of years. Trudeau versus Poilievre, back and forth. This is the most refreshing, honest, and encouraging thing I've seen throughout, and Carney will definitely get my vote. Pleasantly surprised by how well Carney came off here. Well done. Canadian progressive here. I really hope that Mark Carney wins the leadership of the Liberals. He has the best chance to defeat the Conservatives or at least hold them to a minority government. The left is eating it up. They really hope Mark Carney gets in, because if I'm being honest, he is the only one that really stands a chance against Poilievre, to a degree. He is smart. He's crafty. He's wise. He has an impressive, colorful resume. The problem is that's what's scary about him, is he wants to continue all the policies that have led us to where we are. It's only going to get worse. Justin Trudeau started it. Carney's going to end it. And that's what makes it very interesting that Poilievre now has to really elevate his game. Before, it was a championship boxer beating up on an amateur day after day after day after day in the House of Commons. Now, if Carney gets voted in and becomes a leader of the Liberals, that's a viable foe. That's why, in some ways, I'm really hoping Freeland gets in. It would make it a lot easier to get this over with. But yeah, Carney came off really nice in this interview. He came off charming. He came off semi-relatable. And that's what's freaking people out. It is very interesting. And on that same news, with the Liberal leadership race, a couple pieces that are interesting. Karina Gold, Liberal House Leader, has officially voiced intention to run in the Liberal leadership race. François-Philippe Champagne is out. Christy Clark is also out. Saw that one coming. So really where it's shaking out to be is we have Chandra Aria, who is still in. You have Mark Carney, who's now voiced that he's going to be joining on American networks. You have Karina Gold, who's in. And now we're still officially waiting for Chrystia Freeland. We'll see what happens. Have yourselves a great day. I'm out.